Cool. Ok. Pozdrav svima, ja ću pričati na engleskoj, budem tako puno brži. Ćemo sad čekati još par minuta ili je to? Dejan?
Možeš početi.
Ok. Dobro. Samo malo. Nekakvi problemi. Ok. Dobro. Danas ću... izvinite. Welcome to SQL Saturday Croatia 2020 online edition. It is a great pleasure to be part of that. First of all, a huge and big thanks to the sponsors and all the speakers who managed to do this on a very short term and notice, so that we keep you happy and satisfied for this Corona period. If you want to join the session, here is the link to other sessions, and stay tuned. There is also the schedule for today, so if you want to switch or join any others, go ahead. A couple of words about me. If you want to email me, if you want to get in contact with me, you can do that as well. Session outline for today, I will have mostly just demos, so just a couple of slides to keep the track going, but otherwise mostly demos. The first part will be mostly about DAX, just couple of introductions, couple of differences, what people usually mix most. Then the next session, the part will be about visuals, how to create your own visual, how to do R or Python, how to use the composition trees, key influencers, and any others. And then the third part will be about usability, hiding, showing slicers, row-level security, copying datasets, and custom measures with tabular editor, some useful shortcuts, and the last part will be about just your usual everyday corporate stuff that you come along about semantic models, themes, and template files. So this is the outlook for today, and if you don't fancy, you can still have time to catch the other session. Okay, so first of all, some useful DAX functions, some mix, calculate, calculatable, and filter, switch. I will just go into Power BI for you to see what are the differences and how to use those. I hope you can see my Power BI. Can anybody say yes or?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so first of all, a quick tip or trick how to put all of your measures in one place. So you can see I have a couple of tables here. They are all in this particular model relationship. And what I did was I created a table, and within this table, then I started putting all of my measures. So this is just something when you can organize your measures for cleanliness and tidiness. Okay, so first of all, this is the table dataset that I will be working on. It is basically item ID, list price, quantity, product ID, and some cells. And I will just quickly guide you through the differences between a couple of those frequently or most used functions. And this is based on what I've seen in years of experience and working with people that they still don't understand the differences. So sum versus sum X. What sum does is basically calculates just a row sum on the column, versus the sum X. What it does, it basically does also the calculation. And if you can see the DAX here, you can see that I'm just summing on a column, versus here, what I'm doing is I'm taking this table, and from this table, I am basically putting list price and quantity together in SUMX. So what I'm doing is I'm basically creating a product on that. Sum in particular would not allow me to do this. So basically sum does some calculations, SUMX does calculations and expressions versus sum that basically just calculates on a column. The same goes for average and average X and all the other statistical functions. So average, the same logic lies behind. So, oops, nothing in particular fancy. The same column is just average together, and you can use average X in order to infiltrate or do some additional calculations. So what I'm doing here is basically the same as beforehand. I'm taking the list price and multiplying it with the quantity, nothing in particular. Some would say, yeah, you can do this in database or beforehand. Yes, I did this. Also created a new measure basically that just sums all the sales in my raw data. One another thing, since I'm already pushing it here, I've seen a lot of people that don't use format painter. This is something that kind of comes as a bummer. You see that those two cards are basically with different colors and fonts, and what you can do is click on one, click here, format painter, just simple as that, and drag on the other one, and bam, you have changed the format of your card. Okay. The next one is calculate versus filter. Calculate, what calculate does is basically applies your own filter to data and then adds that can add to existing filters or even replace them. Whereas filter basically works the same as calculate, but it is not mutable because it works on a subset of data. So basically filter is a bit rigid. It always creates a subset of data versus calculate can override a particular filter, do much more. And on the left-hand side, you see the table with the calculate. So I'm using my number 7 measure. So what I'm doing is basically I'm calculating previously prepared sum of all the sales on this particular table, where I'm saying give me only the orders with order ID equals to 2. And the result is exactly this. So give me all the sum of the sales where order is 2 based on the product. Going back to the filter, you can see that, I've created the same. I've used the same table, but in this case, what I did was I've created a subset saying, okay, just filter first of all the order items where list price is less than $100 US, and then once you filtrate this, you can create a sum with X based on those two. So in this case, filter is basically taking a subset of this data, whereas calculate would basically be just overriding any previous filter. And this is then also very useful when merging with any other table. So calculate is, in this case, much better. Okay, going further on, all function basically is very useful for calculating aggregates. Regardless of all the applied filters, it basically returns all the rows in a table. So what I did was, again, clicking on my measure, I said, return me all the sum of all the products, calculate all the sales for my particular products. And this is what I get. So I get for all these products, I get the same number of sales that is basically the same as the total. And then I can use this further on to, let's say, calculate running cumulative sum or averages or stuff like that. And the last one is calculate versus calculate table. Calculate we've seen before, but calculate table is commonly misunderstood or misused. What it does, it basically creates and evaluates the whole table as an expression, and in this way that can be filtered and used with any other filters in your relationship. So in any other of those relationships, you can use this particular filter. Okay, going on. Another one as a tip or trick is how to put data table as a dimension in your everyday Power BI. I've seen a lot of people that are struggling with this, so that usually they create they have some time column, but they need to extract the year or the month or the quarter, and this is a very nice way to create a table. What you then do is you set your minimum and maximum date, and then based on that, you are creating a table with all the times that is within this particular range. I'm opening another Power BI desktop for you to see. Since this is opening, I can also tell that further on we will be also briefly talking about the DAX query expressions, and one is used right here with this var as a variable. So what I did was I've created this, which is literally the same. So I've created a variable, and then within this variable as a temporary table, I've used this variable to get a particular parts of the month. And how does then this function is that I get a return of all the data as a dimension table. My other table consists of only 2 rows. Oops. Only 2 rows as a start and end date. So this is start and end date, and within this date set or date time, all the dimension table will be created. This is something that you need to do as a mandatory, and then the DAX will basically create a time dimension for you. So another which I've seen that is still not used as much as one could use are those DAX query statements. These are in particular var, evaluate, and define. These are very useful, especially if you're using the DAX Studio. You can always use evaluate, DAX query statement that basically contains a table expression. Var you can always use to store a result of an expression that is particularly like a variable, and define is basically an entity that exists during the query runtime. There is also order by, which is pretty much straightforward. Okay, and then there is so-called M and native query with, for instance, parameters. Native query is something that is very useful, and I highly advise you to use it with parameters. So if you are switching between different servers or different databases, you can set all your information in parameters without reopening or changing the connections. Then you can use this with native query to change the sources on the fly. There is also a lot of people being afraid of M because it's like a rocket science, but in reality it's not. It's very straightforward, very simple. You can go advanced editor and start writing M with let and in statements. The second part are visuals. So the composition tree, key influencers, and many other out-of-the-box visuals that are available in Power BI. The composition tree is very useful for understanding and drilling down the data, especially if you want to do some data mining, data exploration. Key influencers is also very interesting, to be honest, because it basically provides you the exploratory type of regression analysis based for, let's say, categorical variables. There is a slide, the composition tree demo. I'm opening again another Power BI desktop. And you can see that this was introduced in November 2019, Power BI upgrade, and you can use somehow the intelligence of creating, let's say, so in this case I'm using Bike Buyer, the famous AdventureWorks database. And I can just say, okay, for those bike buyers, I want to see, I want to analyze who are they and try to understand data. I can easily just, take away these particular parts and then add additional node where I want to drill next, etc., etc. I've also added the bar chart here in order to see the differences by occupation. For instance, I can change this. There are also some ways how to add this. You can say high or low value, and then in this case, there will be some additional, let's say, AI kicked in, giving you the capabilities of exploring data using AI. The same goes for key influencers. I will not lose time here because this is pretty much straightforward, but again, very useful. There are also some other visuals that you can download that I highly recommend. If you go to import from marketplace, there are those that are basically from R and from Python recreated, let's say, so clustering, for instance, is one of those that was basically just recreated, and I still don't know why Microsoft isn't putting this also as a default visual set, but that's, some other story. So there are a lot of those visuals that you can download, and I highly recommend you also browse through this. Okay, and then there is another slide, how to create your own visual. I find two web pages, two programs very useful. One is Charts Power BI Tips, and the other one is Charticulator. And I will just jump into Charts Power BI Tips to give you an idea how to create a mostly two-line chart with two different y-axis. This was usually the most frequently requested chart from people I know that they wanted to create this. So I'm opening another Power BI here to give you a glimpse how we used to do this. So by default, what you get is, so first of all, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of how the data looks. So this is my data set, pretty much nothing. So it's just the date and then some quantity and some temperature. The idea is to have one with relatively higher number and one with relatively low number, so that then you can see that there is a need for two axes. So Power BI out of the box gives you the combination of line and charts, which is okay, but what if I want to have two lines instead of those histogram bar charts? So you can do this out of the box with R or with Python. So I did this, for instance, with R. I'm just gonna go jump into my R wrapper. And what this does is basically, you can see the code. I'm not gonna say it's beautiful, but it's quite, especially for people who are not that much fluent in any of those languages. And especially if you don't want to have any Python or R visuals. Why would that be? Especially if you are running on prem, Power BI reporting services, those still do not support R or Python visuals, so you need to have any workaround that is available for you. This will work with your cloud tenant, so you can easily upload there. But again, sometimes sharing all those additional packages that you need to have installed when running R or Python can be a problem. So you can see, imagine a data engineer running into this, and you would have a quite fast people saying, okay, I'm not going to do this. So another one is to use and create your own data chart. So in this case, you can see that there is no code. There is just this particular icon, and everything is fully functional. So if I change the quantity, you will see that my graph is changing on the left-hand side. So how to do this? I'm just going to quickly, okay. What you need to do is you need to go to charts Power BI.tips, and you need to open or drop a file. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly demonstrate this. I'm going to put in my CSV file. This is basically my CSV file. Nothing pretty much interesting. So again, quantity and temperature, and there is date. So what I do next is, once I import this, I click done, and I get column panels, which is on the left-hand side. You have your glyph panel, your layers pane, sorry, pane, not panel, glyph pane, and then there is this graph pane where you basically design your chart. So this is 5 minutes demo. You will see how simple it is. I take date, I put it on my x-axis, and I put, let's say, temperature. Bam. So I get temperature, I get this. What I do next is I take symbol, and I want to have dots on my glyph. And you can see that then those dots are getting connected. And one thing I need to do is I need to create link all those items and create links. Bam. So I have my simple graph here created. Now what I want to do next is I want to have my quantity again on my another epsilon axis. So what I do next is I will just shorten this, minimize this graph. I click somewhere on a blank page, I add another glyph, and I add another plot segment. It's just like that. Once I have this, I repeat the same procedure. I put date here, I put quantity here, bam, and again symbol in glyph, and then links, create links. Oh, my bad. Okay. Let me just. Okay. Nope. Delete. Okay. So here I'm going to do again just plot 1, and here I'm going to do plot 2. Okay, much better. And you can see that I have my scale here. What I want to do with my scale is I want to move it on the other position. So I put it opposite. Almost done. What I need to do next is I need to grab this and extend it all the way here. And my graph here, extend it all the way to here. So now you can see I have the same x-axis and two y-axes. Then, of course, I need to do some cleaning. I can create some different line charts, different color charts, coloring, and stuff like that. Once I'm done, what I need to do is I need to export this. And how do I want to export this? I want to export this as a Power BI visual. Simple as that. You can create anonymous, you can create, author name, visual name, stuff like that. Once you do all this, you can just export Power BI visual. And what's going to happen is then I can save this visual now. I will say, okay, I want to save this visual. Then what I will do next is I will create a new Power BI. I will open a empty blank Power BI. Then I'm opening a blank Power BI. And what I will do simply is just import my visual from a file. Okay, and I'm just gonna go to downloads. So this is my file that I've just created. And there is this additional visual, and you can add it. And then, of course, you need to have your data set. So I'm just going to take the CSV file. So the one that we used beforehand. So this one, 2 charts. And I will say, yeah, load. And that's it. And then you can start using. One thing to notice here is that you can change these labels by adding something else. So, and it does not need to be, quantity on quantity. It can be anything else. So just like that, I want to add, and I don't want to. Okay, something is wrong with my date, but otherwise this should work. Okay, it works. It's just something you need to fix with the date here to change the format, and that's it. Otherwise, it works perfectly fine. You can also do many other visuals. I've done also type of Sankey diagram between different categories and how to connect them. So this is pretty much outstanding. Again, these visuals can easily be uploaded to your cloud tenant and can be used also on your on-prem reporting server, Power BI reporting server. Going further, there is also measure as an image, which is a very nice and powerful, let's say, Sparklines. You can also add Sparklines as a SVG. There is a link to Power BI community right here where you can get some additional information on that. But in essence, it's basically just creating importing the SVGs and then creating some DAX on top of it, and you get beautiful Sparklines as well. Okay, the third part is about usability. This is, I believe, quite frequently used. How to deal with your Power BI problems of having too many visuals and too little space, so the space state on the Power BI. What do you need to do? I'll just show you a quick example. This is literally just playing with bookmarks and selection pane, selections in selection pane. Okay, my Power BI is, it's not dying, okay. So you can see this hamburger, or however you want to call it, show filter pane. If I click, if I press Control and left mouse click, I get this particular slicer, which I can also hide by pressing Control and then hide panel. So how to do this? You need to have under the view bookmark and selection enabled. So what you need to do is basically two things. You need to have two bookmarks. So one is show and the other one is hide filter pane. So if I click like this, if I click like that, simple as that. Then you need to play with those selection panes. So all the boxes and images need to have a particular order and need to be grouped whenever happens that you need to hide or to show the filter. This is basically one box, text box. This is text box, and this is all that is included all the way, I think, down here. And then based on those bookmarks, you need to define some actions, what actions gonna happen, and that's it. There is pretty much, and of course I need to have the back button and hamburger button. If you want to go into the details, I will not go. There is my blog post where you can get all the information how to do this. This is highly recommendable because you only get this once you click this additional filters. You can hide it, unhide it, and that's it. Another thing I did was once I don't see my filters, I have here at the bottom a simple DAX. I used a simple DAX to show, to basically denote which filters are selected. So for instance, for diamond cut selection, I have currently enabled a selected good. So this is the cut good. And if I look at the diamond color selection, I have those three letters selected. So how to do this? It's a simple DAX formula. So I say if filtered, select particular value, otherwise filter is not selected. And the same goes for the other one. Oops. It just says concatenates all the values for a given color, because you can have more than one color, and at the end add a comma so that it is neatly organized. And that's about it, how to show this in a very nice manner. Okay. Row-level security. Row-level security is something very useful if you want to have, if you want to show or hide a particular data. What I did was I have all the data in my from my Active Directory, and everything is put together in a relationship. And what do you then need to do is just under this manage roles, you create a simple DAX saying, okay, if this particular user with this email clicks on show or filter all the rest of the values. So you go manage roles, and you see all of my information here, and this is basically a your typical standard AD, Active Directory structure of the information, and how to filtrate this data. You need to have also the relations correctly merged together, so that once a particular user clicks somewhere, it gets all the information needed. And there is also another thing to add, maybe just a little bit more tags. There is called substitute function, and this one is also very useful. User principal name to get the name from your computer. And this is, in this case, the name of my computer that I'm currently presenting from. Okay. And copying datasets and custom measures with tabular editor. There has been also a lot of people asking, how to copy one measure between two datasets within one Power BI. So how to solve this issue? This is a little bit workaround, but if you want to dive into, there is also another blog post basically describing this. You will see that I have a couple of data sets, two data sets. One holds the custom measures and the other one don't. So the idea is how to copy this. It is impossible to copy paste into a different data set. Okay, you can do copy pasting like this and creating, but imagine if you have like, I don't know, 100 of those measures, it can be quite time consuming. So what you need to do is you need to save this as a template file. So you need to save this as a template file. Once you have this saved, you need to go to Tabular Editor. Tabular Editor is a free of charge program, and you can download it from Git. You say open from file, and you say, okay, I'll take my Power BI template. From here on, you can easily copy paste. Just like that. So you can copy multiple just like that. The only thing you need to be aware of is to change the data set here. So in this case, I'm using diamonds, and in this case, the only thing I need to change is change my data set pretty much just like this. If you use DAX Studio, you can export all the measures and calculated measures columns and basically do there as well of the renaming, but as far as I know, this only tabular editor was able for me to easily copy paste all the measures. Once you do this, you just rename the data sets and store it and reopen in Power BI template file. No, I don't. I want to quit, but I don't want to save this. So if I open my Power BI template file, which basically has all the measures copied, you can see that basically the template will open Power BI desktop, and I have my measures here copied. So basically you can see that these are the copied measures, which is pretty fast and pretty neat. Okay, some shortcuts very useful for using DAX code. When using DAX code, Alt-Shift-A will comment or uncomment code, go to number line, Control+G, line break, Shift and Enter, enable or disable IntelliSense and indentation, especially when writing long text queries. It's very useful. There are also some tools worth looking into, especially PowerShell, BIPS tools and PowerShell. Those are two very great modules. And then there are also DAX Studio, Tabular Editor, Power BI Sentinel, Power BI Governator. They both do, the data governance, the Power BI governance. And then there is the company DevScope that also have developed quite a few additional products for Power BI and many more. These are just some of them. And the last part is about what corporations could use. One is the semantic model. Semantic model, what it means is basically you can rename Power BI PBX file to zip file and get all the internal data. The same way you can do also with the template. So what happens once I, for instance, I'm just gonna quickly show you. So I have my Power BI X here. I renamed it to zip file and I opened the zip file. And this zip file basically contains all of the information about my model, the metadata and stuff like that. So unzip this file, and if I go to, let's say, data model, I think. Nope. It is data mashup. Yeah. You can see that there is the query and everything described here for this particular Power BI. And there are also many other useful and interesting information in this template. You can get all the, you can get all the internal data, access to queries and the semantic models. There is also, as I said, a couple of PowerShell scripts that are very useful. A quick demo. I have my PowerShell already running. I'm running it as a admin. So what you need to do is you need to install the Power BI ETL module and then Power BI PS tools. Once you do this, first of all, you need to see which computer, what is the name of your computer. And by the way, I'm just gonna close all the Power BI documents. And I will open a very small one. Just a second. Nope. So there is only one prerequisite. You need to have the Power BI, the one you want to work with, opened. So I'm taking this test file, which is pretty much nothing. It's just 4 lines of data. So you see this is ID and value, and I've named this Power BI test. So what I will do is I will get the name of my computer, like this, and you see this is the window title, which I copy pasted here. And what I can do next is, this is, in my opinion, very useful. I can export data to SQL Server, or I can export it to CSV file. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to export my data to CSV file. I'm just going to run this. And okay. That's not good. I think only this one. Yeah, okay. So the same file location, I had it here, is just, you can see that these files have been created right now. So the one is template, which is just some metadata information. And the mock file, if I open the mock file, you will see that this is the same data that I used in the Power BI. Very useful for exporting the data or exporting the data and then templates for sharing with others. This command does not work because my data source is not correctly, that's why I got this error. You can also export it to convert it to tabular. So this basically a module, partial module, is very strong, very powerful. There are also themes and templates file. Especially with themes, if you are in the corporate environment, you can create your own themes. So how to do this? And this is my last demo, because we are slowly running out of time. Just let me find my... okay, so themes. So you can see I'm opening a Power BI again. I have two themes here. One is blue theme and one is the default theme. So if I open the blue theme, you will see that this is just some JSON representation of a data color, background, table exit, etc., etc. So what I will do is I will quickly... Sorry, okay, my time is up. I will quickly show you. So this is by default the default theme. So what I need to do is I need to add another theme here. And how to do this? I just browse for themes. I go to a correct folder, of course. And I can choose blue theme. Bam. And this is then changed immediately. So this is how you can then prepare all the themes and then export it to save it in a template file for your corporate environment. So ending here, thanks for your attention. If you want to get in touch, these are the links. Most of the examples are already published on the Git, and that's it. Thank you. If you have any other questions, shoot now or join the other sessions.
Hvala Tomaž na vrlo zanimljivom predavanju.
Hvala.
Drugo predavanje će početi za 2 minute, pa ako ima pitanja, vi slobodno ostanite na ovom mitingu i ja idem na sljedeći miting.
Ok, hvala ti, čao.
Pozdrav.
Pozdrav. Ako ima nekdo kakvo pitanje, evo. Ok, nema ništa onda, dobro.